Hey guys, hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. Just wanted to record a quick video. I was going to post this as just your average text form post, but figured with the popularity of LinkedIn video popping up, might as well give it a try and see how things go. So give me your feedback on this in the comments if it makes sense or if it's relevant to you at all. So the reason why I wanted to put the post together in the first place is just because I was getting a lot of questions, a lot of pushback from people in terms of why personalization is even worth it. Why it makes sense, why do it? Why would I structure the templates the way I do and take all the time to do research on people? And I always found myself like trying to justify it over and over again. So I figured I would actually go back to a couple of my favorite psychology books, look through the notes there and see, just what are the facts in terms of how people make decisions and how can I align that to the email templates I'm typically sending out that match a lot of probably what you guys are sending as well. So, everybody has their theory on what the perfect cold email template is, but I think this could be valuable, especially if you want to take the time to do research. You have a great product or service. You need something to start from. Some framework to work off of, so you're not writing these 2-page emails that unfortunately nobody's going to read. So what I did was actually go through and take some notes, summarize the notes that I took on those 2 books that are both by Robert Cialdini. Of course, there's others, but these are kind of my 2 favorite ones, Pre-suasion and Influence. So aligning it to what my favorite kind of template is or framework is for emails. So that framework, which a lot of people are familiar with, is literally just, you want to get somebody's attention first. Then you want to build interest. Then you want to, motivate them or encourage desire. And then lastly, you want them to take action. So it's AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. And it's ironic because inside Influence, Robert Cialdini actually gives you an order of how these biases work. And it's almost exactly to a T to that acronym or that list of traits that you want to kind of insight out of somebody. But so the way that they align, first you actually use persuasion, which makes sense. So you want to get people's interest by using persuasion, and the way people are biased to giving their attention is there's a number of different ways, and some are a little bit more elaborate than others. But I think what's most relevant for cold email or reaching out, whatever kind of messaging platform you want, is actually the idea of self-relevance. So self-relevance is just a fancy name for personalization and talking about what other people care about. So in this case, what I'll do is actually look for people's blog posts, videos, podcasts, wherever they may be producing content or putting content online, and I'll try and find what their primary beliefs about something are and make sure that those align with something I believe in, and then just mention that in the first sentence. The second kind of thing, in terms of gaining interest, Robert Cialdini, Inside Influence, he talks about the idea of your bias towards liking or likening, so how we're similar, and then just the idea of reciprocity. So reciprocity is one that, in terms of bias, I think everybody is familiar with, but if you combine those 2 at this point in the email and at this point in your message, it's going to be most effective. So how that looks is I'll typically go and look through their profiles a little bit more in depth and see, what things are they interested in, what groups are they part of, what city are they in, who else do they know, right? And then reciprocity, pretty standard. I'll give you guys an example of how I typically add reciprocity at the end. But yeah, if you can give somebody something as part of this first email, that's going to set you apart from 99% of the people that are kind of doing outreach. So the next is authority and social proof. So these 2 things, this is your opportunity to actually show what you can do. Most people spend the entire portion of their message talking about their own pitch or their own service or product. Ideally, you only want to, you definitely want to talk about the results that you can offer, but at some point, sometimes it doesn't make sense. If you're just starting a relationship with somebody, starting a conversation, there's a place for that as well. But if you absolutely are connecting with maybe a high-level C-suite executive or a VP or somebody, a business owner, a lot of times they're busy, right? You don't want to bother them, or you don't want to go back and forth with 6 or 7 emails before you look to book a meeting. if you want to get right to the punch, you need to be able to articulate what results you can offer for people. So that's where the authority and social proof come in. Again, I'll show you an example when I sum this all up. And lastly, as part of your messaging framework, you want to include the bias of consistency. So lastly, people are going to look to, my initial thought, for example, when I'm getting a new email that's cold from somebody is, does this apply to me? And even if the first 3 sentences are like speaking kind of towards me, before I get back to that person, I want to know for sure that this is relevant to me. So that's the idea of your bias towards consistency. And then lastly, scarcity. So you can pick and choose where you use scarcity. Sometimes it comes off a little fake, and that's because it likely is in those situations, but I would highly encourage you using it if it makes sense, if it's authentic. So in my example, how I would come up with a message and combine all of these different biases together is, first off, I'd start with persuasion. So I would look to see, again, what that person believes in, how I can make a message that's kind of self-relevant to that person. So I'll look through their podcast, maybe I'll say, hey John, just noticed your blog post on personalization in email marketing. I love the idea that you should take as much time as possible and build something that's contextual to the person that you're reaching out with or reaching out to. Next, I'll look to liking. I'll be like, it actually caused me to take a look at your website, and it looks like you recently read one of Grant Cardone's books. I'm actually a big fan as well. I'm not sure if you ever downloaded one of his paid kind of pamphlets, but I did with the 100 Ways to Stay Motivated, and I found it really useful. So wanted to attach it here. Maybe you'll find it the same. Boom, there you go. So we hopefully can resonate on the idea that he reads Grant Cardone's books. I read Grant Cardone's books. Maybe you can use the pamphlet. Next, I'll go kind of to what my results are, or the authority and social proof, and I'll say, actually the only reason I thought to reach out in the first place, not only do we share a common interest with Grant Cardone, but for business owners like yourself of maybe digital agencies or whatever common statistic I can add in there that's relevant, that is actually believable. We actually find that we're booking 3 or 4 meetings consistently with this highly personalized approach. So it's a very, very specific, very short. You want to make some type of claim. What kind of results can you offer for people? Again, it's always better if you can market these results and you're putting out content and people are coming to you and you can get on the phone. But if you're reaching out cold, you want to definitely include your big claim. This is something that if you're at a networking event, you want to be able to articulate anyway. So come up with your big claim, insert it here. And then lastly, I'll leave the message with the idea of consistency and potentially scarcity. So how this looks in the most common case that I'll use is, to be sure I don't waste your time with this, John, are you actually the guy on your team that's closing most of the business? The idea here is that I'm almost trying to disqualify him, so I want to give him an out. If he's not, maybe they do have a sales guy, maybe I'm talking to the wrong person. So that's why I use consistency. And then scarcity, again, I would only use this if it is authentic, but a lot of times it'll be true. So maybe I'll say, I'm actually going to Las Vegas for the Thrive concert in September, Thrive event in September, and I'm only gonna be there for a few days. So it looks like you're in Las Vegas as well. If you're around, would love to connect and maybe meet up in person. I'm not in Vegas very often, so it'd be great to connect over a meal there. And that's it. That's how I tie everything together. So that's how the psychological biases that everybody has, that we've all been conditioned to, will actually help us out here when you frame your email templates that way or your messaging templates that way. So I just wanted to kind of provide some context to why it is that those certain types of templates work, and hopefully you guys can go ahead and use that in whatever types of pitches you are putting together for whatever type of business. It turns out from talking to a lot of people that there's a lot of people with a skill, there's a lot of people with a great product, but they end up wanting to, and to no fault of their own, they end up wanting to just talk about it. They're so passionate about it that they want to end up talking about all the features. But again, remember that the core message in these psychology books is that people don't make decisions based on rationality. So the amount of time you spend kind of listing out features is going to be completely irrelevant. You actually need to connect on an emotional level first, and then people will rationalize. That's just human nature. So hopefully you guys found this valuable. Yeah, looking forward to trying out more videos in the future. Anyways, let's connect.